And although money is, I believe, on the last thing on Alex Karp's mind, is Ukraine actually paying Palantir yet? Is it being subsidized by the funding that the US is giving Ukraine?
Well, so far, that's exactly the point. So far, in the interviews that emerged, but only recently. So think in 1 year, initially we were speculating that, hey, this is a great opportunity for Palantir to be involved. Then we had Shyam saying, oh, we mobilized the entire company for Ukraine. But apart from that, no official announcement, no. We were just speculating. Now, then some articles after many months emerged. Palantir is effectively involved in targeting, in managing operations. So, haha. But now, well, last month, Karp explicitly said we are not getting paid for the services. So neither war actions, not the war crime management, not the refugee management. So think this is already 3 huge cases for which Palantir has been working on, and it's not simple software. Hey, take this software. It's software that requires also people, as we mentioned before. So in terms of numbers, it is understandable that financial analysts see a slowdown in revenue, margins not being so great as they were, but the true value that is actually unlocked keeps increasing exponentially. And yesterday, Karp said a very interesting sentence. They say, when you sell a solution that works, you are confident in being paid later. If you sell an effing PowerPoint, you want to cash in immediately. That simple sentence incorporates all the essence of what Palantir does, actually from the beginning. And we have seen it during COVID, we have seen it in Ukraine, when we are seeing it with the NHS. So, long story short, Palantir is not being paid for the work they've been doing in Ukraine, meaning that so far we are getting the cost, we're not getting the revenue. And that's why that single contract of the reconstruction is so important, because the reconstruction will be paid implicitly by the funds gathered by all the countries managed by BlackRock. So what I shared months ago when at the Davos, Karp was with the Ministry of Digital Transformation. Karp said a specific sentence. He said, don't invest just because it is good. Invest because you could find the next Palantir. And hey, but this was supposed to be a normal presentation. Why they say the word invest? Because my speculation back then was that presentation at Davos was basically a fundraising for the reconstruction. And now, after months, we see these dots connecting.
I see. Interesting. Okay. So leaving defense to one side, which of the current sectors Palantir is working on are you most bullish for them or most excited for them to be able to infiltrate further? Whether it's healthcare or manufacturing, supply chain, which of these do you think could be the biggest opportunity for Palantir?
Well, the biggest opportunity is in healthcare, according to what they say. But why healthcare? Healthcare because the problems are huge, they are life sensitive, and the environment is very regulated. For instance, Karp said, when you deal with large language model, the big problem is trying to find a way to be explicit in explaining why you made a certain decision, because sometimes, especially in healthcare, you need to make decisions that are hard to digest. So you need to prove that the process with which you took that decision was actually fair. So healthcare is huge, not only because the space is immense, the value that can be unlocked is immense, but there is also much to be discovered. What I'm thinking is not only hospitals becoming more efficient, but there is all this segment of drug discovery that I know very little about it, but is basically a data problem in most cases. You need to empower scientists to actually perform research to a much better degree. And now it's not only about making the experiment in the lab, but there is a huge component of analyzing data. So if you can unlock data, use it well, the opportunity can be really immense. And for instance, something that was related 2 months ago, and I think everyone forgot, me included, Palantir was developing with a partner in healthcare a platform to improve the speed with which a drug could be presented to the FDAs. So if you start compounding all the things from unlocking value at hospital level, you start improving the drug discovery, everything gets smoother, the potential compound is huge. So overall, healthcare is the biggest opportunity, but overall, the sectors that are very regulated are utilities and banks. I think these are the three key topics. Well, with utility, I also include energy. I included it into the huge basket because, for instance, we see Palantir having also relationships with consultancy companies, tech companies, but those, in my opinion, are more resellers. Where you really make a difference is on legacy sectors, where they are basically having the business that still relies on Excel and PowerPoint. And a lot of human work.
Yeah. So are there any industries Palantir currently hasn't infiltrated, which you would be excited for them to work on?
I had this question months ago because when you look at the industries where they are in, they are basically everywhere. I think one segment where so far they don't want to get too much into because it is where they failed is finance. In finance, they work a lot with banks in terms of managing anti-fraud, managing workflows for lending approval. We have many testimonies on that, but from a purely financial standpoint, there I'm thinking about Bloomberg and all the software related to the financial sector. There is where Palantir right now doesn't want to get into because that is where they tried in the early stages with a product called Metropolis, which was basically a platform to, well, let's call it a foundry to analyze financial data, which was very cool from the demos I saw. The problem was it was definitively too early. The market was not ready yet to making quantitative analysis on markets. And the financial world is definitely a sector where unless you have a reputation in finance, you don't get into the sector. There's a reason why Bloomberg, even if the platform is really bad in terms of user experience, is still the dominating power for 30, 40 years. And there is no way Palantir couldn't do what Bloomberg does in terms of platform, but the financial industry is so hard to penetrate that I think there it will be very, very hard. But apart from that, another sector that I realized that Palantir can't do much so far is real estate. And I was wondering why. Because so far I only saw the startup involved with a foundry for builders, Catalyst, maybe was the name, that was a foundry for real estate, but Palantir never so far was really involved with real estate companies. They've been involved with manufacturing companies, with Dozen that makes equipment to excavate, stuff like that, but never mentioned about real estate.